Hi, today I have a message called Beyond the Opposites. Okay, this is the short version. Beyond the opposites of low and high vibration is just where you actually are now. You can serve as a reminder of where all actually are right now. We are not actually grouped in teams fighting against each other, no matter how that may appear to you. Grab your popcorn. Here above the battleground, we watch a movie in which characters enact being in separate teams. In reality, all serve as they are because of what they truly are and always will be. And if you come with me and you pan the camera way back, you pan the camera away from what you would call Earth and what you say happens on Earth, any perception you gave yourself, and we pan the camera even further back. Let's pan it further back today, back beyond any configuration of those we call galactics and what we believe they're doing based on the thoughts that we have believed. So let's pan the camera all the way back beyond any force that you would hire to manipulate your perception. I'm just pondering how that just came through me and seeking some further explanation. Beyond some force that you would hire to manipulate your perception. So you'd only see an opposing or manipulative force if you still want to block love, because nothing's more powerful than love, and love is what all beings are, no matter what roles you've cast them in, or no matter what, I'll go back to I language, no matter what roles I've suggested for them or cast for them, they're still love, and nothing can change that. Nothing. So as far back as you need to pan the camera, go back that far prior to any character of any opposite quality. Go back that far. And you might find you need to go further back than someone you call other. That's fine. Okay, we're going back beyond any past, any future, back beyond any seeming location in time and space. All the characters that you would ever pop into your perception. We're talking about everyone. Okay, so beyond the opposites of low and high vibration is just where you actually are now. So you notice your feelings, and they could be very revved up, very euphoric, or they could be very down low. And then prior to that, before that ever appeared on the scene, something in your world appearing to cause a euphoria, a sensation, anything, and something in your world appearing to cause a dejection. Prior to that, what were you? What are you right now still? You are always joy and peace. But that is not a joy and peace that can be affected by any perception of anything. This is prior to perception. This is not a joy and peace that can be affected by any event whatsoever. It is not brought on by these things. It is you. And it is you in unison and connection with all beings prior and to and beyond time and space. We can't be joy and peace unless we're joy and peace all together. Real, actual joy and peace and love with no opposite. That's what we are. And it's not caused by an aspect of time and space. So we have to get ourselves past the idea of something that could rise and fall, past the idea of something that could change, and understand there's something truly beautiful and changeless within every being. And then we learn to make no exceptions. And then we're not subject to sensations. We're not subject to this up and down movement. We're not subject to an aspect of time and space that could seem to cause a state in you. We're not subject to any of that. We're not subject to the hallucination. We're hallucinating the hallucination. But prior to that, you are everything you've always wanted. The only thing you would want in time and space is something that you believe would give you some peace for a little bit. Ah, I have it. Ah, I can rest now, right? You are that rest, that deep, deep peace. You are that. Okay, and that's past the idea of low and high vibration. Now, spirit can use anything to conduct you through and out of the dream. So spirit's definitely going to use your perception of how you feel as an alert. Beep, beep, beep. Spirit's not going to use the ego's fake euphoria. That's too confusing. It's meant to cover up the joy you actually are. Spirit's going to use the low states as your alarm clock. And as you pay attention to that alarm clock and you notice the thoughts you believe and that alarm is going off and you set them aside and you remember the only gift I want to give and receive is just our oneness, just what is changeless in us. That's it. As you remember to pause and focus there on what actually does not change and cannot harm and cannot especially benefit either. It benefits all, always. That's what this is, and that's what this does. Does is kind of a funny word because we invented doing, but spirit uses everything. So beyond all of that, it's just where we actually are right now. But spirit will use the idea of how do you feel right now? Which end of the drug spectrum are you on? And I'm laughing because it hasn't been presented to me in such a blunt way before. I'm really getting into seeing, ego gives me a euphoria, and ego gives me a depression, and ego makes me think this is all there is. And if I just try to bail the water over or move the water over to one side of the boat, I can stay in this euphoria. But that's not how it works. In ego's world, you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But the more you relax into what you are, the more what you are emanates from everyone and everything. The more you give that gift to everything you would perceive, this innocence, this peace, this joy. Okay, so that's still not crystal clear to me, but it's a newer diving down deep into this, and I feel like the messages help me rest in this is how it really is, and take your attention away from how it fake is. And then each message will help me accept it and remember to live from that place. Okay, you can serve as a reminder of where all actually are right now. So that's what you are. And remember, you're not your body. Your body you can give to what you are, what you truly are, to manage. If your body is your project, try not to fight these words as they come through. Okay. If your body is not your project, and it's just your communication, your device, your telephone, and the maintenance of it is up to whoever maintains it. It's hard for me to talk about this because I'm not really accepting it, but I'm trying to bring it through. And I was always told our voice will become your voice, so that's why I don't kind of switch into, well, now I'm channeling so-and-so. We're all friends. We're all one. We all can speak with each other in a harmonic. And I'm sort of reaching deeper into what I am to communicate harmoniously to you. But at the same time I'm doing that, I have to reach into deeply whatever's left of my ego would fight. And it's funny then allow it to kind of melt the edges off that so it can get through. So let me reorient. I was saying, okay, your body is not your project. You leave the maintenance of this body. We have such a culture of worship around us that we ourselves made because we believed thoughts. So let's not take our attention off that. That is like, if you can successfully make a body that can be admired, then you can have peace. So it should be your project to make a body that can be admired, and then you will have peace and you won't have conflict. Okay, so those are being presented. I feel like we're not going to be talked to further about this. Those are just being unearthed, as these are thoughts you believe, and these are thoughts you can set aside. And we'll go further into it later. And so these are thoughts you can set aside, and when you set a thought aside, you can turn your focus to something actual, not something you made up. So something actual is the gift I want to receive and give, is sharing the giving and receiving of this oneness, and to just rest there for a moment, just to reorient and put the body in the right hands. Okay, so let's see if there's anything more to be said. You can serve as a reminder of where all actually are right now. And my attention is taken off the visual when I contemplate. How does one serve as a reminder? And although we receive guidance and what to say, and the sensory, what to say and what to do, this is more of a focus on emanation. And I'm going slow here just because I'm being shown something. Okay, when we learn how to focus consistently, not on all these little details around us and judging them in terms of up and down, this is good and that is bad, kind of relentlessly. We just kind of do that so quickly, and we train ourselves to keep our focus on actually what all of us share, something that we all share, something that is true about all of us, and we get kind of stubborn about keeping our focus there. Then what we emanate is helpful, and that is not a spoken thing, but the unspoken can be very, very powerful and very helpful. Yeah, so this is just being highlighted right now. Okay, we are not actually grouped in teams fighting against each other, no matter how that may appear to you. So if you see sports teams, or if you see political groupings, or if you see groupings of ones you'd call galactics, or groupings within your family structure, that's not actual. That's what we're dreaming. And what we want to do is just step away from the dream for a moment, knowing that we're the maker of the dream. The dream is based on the thoughts we believe, and yeah, we have a bunch of thoughts to set aside when we see a dream of strife. But we can gradually sink into, learn to rest in what it is we all share. What is it that is the same about all of us? It's a very, very calm place. It's not disturbed by anything that seems to happen. It's not disturbed by the appearance of anything. It doesn't, this thing that we all are and we all share, doesn't, as a matter of defense, just relentlessly judge everything it sees and try to build up a defense against it. So yeah, I'm just being shown this today. And honestly, the putting into words is a little bit challenging. Okay, we are not actually grouped in teams fighting against each other, no matter how that may appear to you. So looking past the appearance is really key. And the first thing ego will do when I look upon anything visually or when I hear anything, whatever sensory input I'm getting, it's going to judge and analyze it in a matrix of defense of its separate self. That's how it's keyed up to work. And the more I observe it, the more I can see it. And it's easy to tell by how I feel when that defense is engaged, trying to make this bubble around a separate self based on the judgment of all around it, and seeing each self as separate in that fantasy. So just learning to back out of that and kind of go back to the beginning of the program. Everybody has the ability to go back to the root of the program in you. I'm seeing this program as a weed. I'm a little scared when I think of this, because we use this programming and the repetition of the programming, we're used to it. We almost take comfort in it. We do use it as a defense on a daily basis. So when you think of, we're going to take the weed out now, you think you'll be left with nothing, because what that weed generates is everything to you. Because if you think everything sensory is, everything sensory is everything you have, or everything that could bring you happiness, like I referred to in the beginning. It's not the sensory things that bring you happiness. You are the happiness. So if you think about getting to the root of this weed, and in any moment you can go right to the root of this programming and where we chose to take on this programming. Remember, you cannot be a victim of anything. That's very important. So where we chose to take on this programming is where our heart is, and where the joy is, and where the peace is. And if the programming was never real, no one has to rip that weed out. It's not something that is nothing, doesn't get removed. It's like there's an inner agreement to allow it to melt away. So when the weed metaphor was being used, I felt fear and anticipation of it being ripped out. But then I could see it doesn't get ripped out. It's not real. You generated it with imagination. When you understand you've hallucinated something, then the hallucination is given permission to disappear. So it's much more like that. It's a very sane and kind healing. If the only thing that is real is love, you're being brought back to love is very, very sane, very kind. The trauma is not here in your being brought back to love. The trauma is in what you insisted on engaging in. And that only in imagination. That's it. Okay, I hope I got that across. This is a weird space for me. Usually it flows, and I'm a little hesitant here today. But it'll become my new normal, probably. All right. And then the next one, grab your popcorn. Here above the battleground, we watch a movie in which characters enact being in separate teams. So you look at the U.S. election, and it's okay if you believe yourself to be more leaning toward one team, rooting for one team over another team, because remember, it's all imagined. And you don't have to give it a charge that it doesn't have. So if you look at a separate you, and this separate you appears to be barracking for, came into my head because I know some Australian people have said that to me instead of the other. Anyhow, you appear to be on the side of one political team more than another. That doesn't matter. That's your character, okay? That doesn't matter. Even if you have feelings and thoughts that accompany that. If you can be above it all right now, looking at it, here with your popcorn, then it doesn't matter if your character's on no side, if your character's on this side, if your character's on that. It doesn't matter where any character is. What do all the characters have in common? That's the most important thing. So if it seems to you that your character is a neutral, I say, honey, characters weren't made to be neutral. Characters were made to be crazy with each other for the whole time. Characters were made for the crazy. Don't worry about it. How about you? When you go deep enough into you, what are you? Are you truly on one side or another? You're not. If you go deep enough into the rest and the expansiveness and the peace that is within you. And this is not, you find that place of neutrality. This is not about attempting to get your character into a zone that you call neutral. Don't worry about that. The character is going to do what the character does. Your job is to reach into the bag of thoughts. It's like, okay, today's Halloween in the US, so I'm thinking in terms of trick-or-treating. Let's say you go to somebody's door and there are 2 bowls of candy. You need to consistently choose from the bowl of candy. That's the oneness of us. And so in any situation, all the thoughts you have can be based on the idea that we're one, and there's a whole set of thoughts that's here for you from that place. Or they can be based on the idea that the hallucination is real and you have to constantly judge it positively or negatively. So there are 2 bowls of candy, and as you notice thoughts from the bowl of candy that pretends the hallucination is real, those don't feel good. You start choosing from the other bowl. Remember, we're enacting. This is an enactment. And the judgment of the enactment fades away, fades away, fades away. And that's how you find your peace. Not by getting or attaining something specific in time or space. By learning how to stop judging the enactment. And the enactment then can be guided by what you actually are, not by this idea of a separate, cut off character that has its own separate agency. We have a harmonic will amongst us, thy will. And as we learn to focus on that, thy will, not my will, then the thoughts that match that reach us. And that's where our enactment comes from. So if you find yourself still in this idea of a separate cut-off character, struggling to do the right thing, struggling to manage the enactment of the character, you can let that go and realize there's a whole set of thoughts that does that for you. You just have to learn to set aside the thoughts that would tell you your job is to manage a character and perfect it and be good enough, and to realize, oh, there's actually a set of restful thoughts that will simply guide me and all of us harmonically through and out of what we've imagined. Okay, so in reality, all serve all as they are because of what they truly are and always will be. So that's what we can remind ourselves of in others. If we notice that we feel disturbed about someone we call other, the cause of that is believing judgment thoughts, both good and bad. They cause a disturbance. They're these opposites that churn back and forth. They're what agitates the water, the thoughts that we accept. And if you think of the being they are serves all because of what they are. It's Halloween, so under the costume of the character is the costume. under the mask, under the costume is the being, and the being serves all, and that's the root we're kind of traveling back to. That's the heart of us. That's the true root, not this root of the ego that we imagined. All serve all as they are because of what they truly are and always will be. So the thing we can remember for everyone we call other is that they are goodness without opposite, no matter how extreme their costume, right? No matter how many horns and tentacles and spikes they have on their costume, or no matter how how do I tackle that one? Seemingly good they look. It doesn't matter which opposite they seem to represent. Don't be fooled. Be steady. Be steady in what's exactly the same about both of them. The one in the angel costume and the one in the devil costume. The only thing either one of them can never shake off is the goodness without opposite that they are. No matter how hard they try, they could never shake that off or get rid of it. And same goes for you. So that steadiness is our true foundation. That's our heart. That's what we share. And so we can always look beyond the enactments of the characters and the analysis of the action. And we can always look down to the foundation of what we are together. That is very powerful. That is our power. Our ability to remember our true power, the power we share, releases that power to benefit all. And that is not something a separate character imagines. It's something a being remembers as a central truth of all and allows. So hope that helps. Wishing you well today. Happy Halloween if you're celebrating that, and happy healing to you.